A humid summer evening on Oxford Square transformed into the final hours anyone would ever spend with Alexandria Ellie Kostial. Her eyes locked on her phone screen as she frantically typed out one last urgent message. Less than 12 hours afterward, her body, pierced by 9 bullets, was discovered next to an abandoned fishing camp along Sardis Lake, about 30 miles from campus. The man she adored, the privileged son who insisted he was blameless, disappeared into the darkness carrying proof of a calculated killing in his own truck. What hidden exchange lured Ellie to that isolated lakeside spot? And what devastating reality hid behind her last messages? This is the murder of Ellie Kostial. Mississippi boasts countless captivating places, from the Vicksburg National Military Park, a storied Civil War site, to Biloxi Beach, perfect for unwinding by the shore. Animal lovers flock to the Institute for Marine Mammal Studies, while those who appreciate history and elegant homes are drawn to Natchez, with its impeccably maintained residences. The Biloxi Lighthouse remains a prime spot for photographers. Yet the state's crowning jewel is the celebrated University of Mississippi, affectionately known as Ole Miss. During summer, when classes pause, the campus falls unusually silent. The handful of students lingering on grounds usually attend supplemental sessions or study on their own to gear up for the next term. In the evenings, they frequently venture to nearby bars and clubs. Among them was Ellie Kostial, an upperclassman who stayed through the summer to deepen her knowledge in select courses. She had just aced a major exam in her summer class, Introduction to Retail, and intended to mark the occasion with friends. One particular bar in Oxford Square, a welcoming place famous for its pizza and draft beers, draws crowds of students and hums with energy almost constantly, like an endless celebration. Its low lights, thumping tunes, and vibrant cocktail selection create a comfortable atmosphere where staff often welcome regulars by name. On the night of July 19th, Ellie met her friends there. They talked and laughed, but Ellie seemed preoccupied, constantly messaging someone on her phone. After downing a few drinks, she slipped away quietly from the bar. That Oxford Square bar became one of the final places where Ole Miss student Ellie Kostial was seen alive. On the morning of July 20, 2019, around 10:30 a.m., officers on routine patrol stumbled upon a grim scene near an abandoned fishing camp by Sardis Lake, roughly 30 miles from the university. The body of a young woman lay there, struck by 9 gunshots to her back. Authorities collected 11 shell casings nearby. Close by, a purse rested along the roadside, holding a driver's license and student ID identifying 21-year-old Alexandria Kostial, a University of Mississippi student. Affectionately called Ellie by those close to her, she was born September 11, 1997, in St. Louis, Missouri. A bright, blonde young woman, Ellie grew up in a supportive home with parents Cindy and Keith, who nurtured her curiosity and enthusiasm for learning. She excelled in school and sports, competing in track and field as well as golf. Ellie cherished adventure and exploration, but her greatest aspiration was to attend the University of Mississippi. That dream came true when she enrolled at the storied Ole Mississippi. Ellie resided in a dormitory in Oxford, Mississippi, and soon won the affection of her classmates. Friends and family remembered her as a lively, radiant person who greeted everyone with genuine warmth. Her abrupt and violent death rippled through her tight-knit circle and the Ole Miss community as investigators labored to uncover the facts. Ellie's father, Keith Kostial, shared the devastating update in a Facebook post on Sunday. Yesterday on Saturday afternoon, police from Sunset Hills, Missouri, came to our home and informed us that our beautiful, beloved Alexandria, our sweet Ellie, was the victim of a crime, he wrote. Ellie had been taking summer classes and leading fitness sessions at the University of Mississippi in Oxford. A 2016 graduate of Lindbergh High School, she was just 21. "We are deeply saddened," said Larry Sparks, interim chancellor of the University of Mississippi, in a statement. "Ellie was a cherished member of our student community." Lafayette County investigator Jared Bundren told CBS that on Saturday morning, the body of a white female with multiple gunshot wounds to the back was discovered on the ground. "I'm working this case and it's devastating. The girl was shot so many times," he said. Reports noted that a local resident walking their dog between roughly 2:15 and 2:30 a.m. heard gunshots and contacted authorities, prompting an immediate response. Police secured Ellie's rented apartment. Though her phone was gone, her Apple Watch remained in the room. Interviews disclosed that days earlier, Ellie's parents had visited from St. Louis. She had shared her excitement for the coming school year and no second thoughts about staying on campus for summer. Data from her Apple Watch showed that after a call with her mother, Ellie traded several messages with someone named Brandon Theesfeld. As detectives examined the exchanges, they learned that 3 months prior, Ellie had delivered shocking news to Brandon. As the final person known to have contacted her, Brandon swiftly emerged as a key figure in the investigation. Deeper review of their messages exposed an on and off romantic involvement between Ellie and Brandon. Brandon Theesfeld, a tall, dark-haired, athletic young man, was also enrolled at the University of Mississippi. He hailed from a polite, affluent family in Fort Worth, Texas. Ellie first encountered Brandon in 2016 during her freshman year and felt an immediate connection. They started spending time together, though they never formally defined their status. While Ellie's affection seemed sincere, Brandon displayed little commitment. Friends described their dynamic as unstable, marked by frequent arguments even in public. They broke up and reconciled repeatedly. On April 12, 2019, Ellie texted Brandon that a pregnancy test had come back positive. He offered no reply despite the gravity. Ellie followed up with texts and voice notes, but he stayed silent. Exactly 3 months later, Brandon responded coldly, "I don't want a child at all. Seriously, it will ruin my life." He added, "I can't help you with this and I don't plan to." Still very early. Just take a pill or make a doctor's appointment and deal with the issue. Ellie, still deeply attached and in love, begged to meet face-to-face to discuss, but Brandon declined every time. On that fateful Friday in July, Ellie went out with friends to a local bar, trying to enjoy herself amid the emotional burden. At 11:52 p.m., security footage showed her exiting the bar. She took a taxi home. About 30 minutes later, she received a call from Brandon. At 1:58 a.m. on July 20th, Ellie climbed into Brandon Theesfeld's vehicle, unaware it would be her last journey. They headed toward the abandoned fishing camp near Sardis Lake. Police records indicate the drive along the dark, secluded route lasted around 45 minutes. Between 2:15 and 2:30 a.m., nearby residents distinctly heard gunshots from the vicinity. On Sunday afternoon, investigators contacted Brandon Theesfeld and requested he come in for questioning about Ellie Kostial. He offered seemingly reasonable excuses for delaying but agreed to meet detectives at 8:30 a.m. on Monday, July 22, 2019. When he didn't appear, authorities tracked his phone's location. Data showed Brandon driving toward his family home in Fort Worth, Texas. A bolo was issued for his distinctive pickup truck, marked by the license plate TAC3IT. Nearby agencies were alerted, and Brandon was taken into custody at a gas station in Memphis 2 days later. 22-year-old Brandon Theesfeld was booked into jail and charged with homicide. His lawyer and father insisted on his innocence. As the Oxford community grieved the savage loss of Ellie Kostial, the case drew nationwide interest. Reporters from across the country arrived in Oxford, seeking details about the lively student whose life ended too soon and the accused killer. Brandon Theesfeld continued proclaiming his innocence, but accumulating proof painted another picture. A gun recovered from him matched the caliber used in the Lakeside shooting, and forensic tests confirmed blood on his clothing and in the vehicle belonged to Ellie. Investigators determined that after July 12, Brandon had traveled from Oxford back to Texas to obtain his father's firearm evidence prosecutors used to claim premeditation. His browsing history included alarming searches for abortion services and abortion pills. It emerged that whenever Brandon agreed to meet Ellie, he canceled last minute or simply didn't appear. His search history also held troubling terms like how to avoid punishment for a crime, how to cover up a crime, and how to use a weapon. In Brandon's apartment, police discovered a letter to his parents, "I am not a good person. This is not your fault. Something inside me just doesn't work. I've always had terrible thoughts. I've always had these feelings. I just felt out of place. I feel like this is the end for me. I'll either go to prison or lose my life. I know I'm going to be caught." On August 30, 2019, a grand jury indicted Brandon Theesfeld for the murder of Alexandria Kostial. Once more, he denied responsibility. Brandon faced the possibility of the death penalty, but the trial faced postponements due to COVID-19 restrictions. When court resumed on August 27, 2021, Brandon, on his attorney's counsel, entered a guilty plea to lessen his punishment. He received a life sentence without parole eligibility. In his final remarks, Brandon apologized to Ellie's parents. "My actions have permanently altered your lives and my family's as well. I wish I could undo everything, but I can't. I pray for God's forgiveness and I hope you might find it in your hearts to forgive me too." But Cindy Kostial, Ellie's mother, dismissed the apology, stating he deserved to remain imprisoned for life, reminded of his crime each time his cell door shut. Investigator Jared Bundren later discussed notable aspects of the shocking case publicly. He explained that Ellie had informed Brandon she believed she was pregnant. Brandon opposed her continuing the pregnancy, sparking repeated conflicts. Though Ellie sought in-person discussions, Brandon refused until the day of the murder. Police urged Brandon to come to the station for questioning, but he resisted with excuses. Tracking his phone revealed he was en route to Fort Worth, Texas. Authorities notified surrounding departments, leading to his arrest at a Memphis gas station. Officers found blood on him and a pistol in his truck matching the murder weapon's caliber. Despite Brandon's denials, he was charged. 5 days after Ellie's death, Funky's bar, where footage captured her departure just before midnight on July 19, had not regained its usual vibe. Witnesses among the last to see her alive noted the recent addition of an exterior security camera. A bartender, speaking anonymously, said she had known Ellie since school. She always smiled. She could light up any room with her presence. Her smile stretched from ear to ear, she recalled. Ellie was the kind of person who warmly greeted everyone she met. "It's just really heartbreaking. She was too kind," she added, glancing away as the bar's disco lights danced across her face. "We're all going to miss her." Morgan Hall, Ellie's instructor and friend in the Introduction to Retail course, learned of her student's death the following Monday and felt profound shock. "You never expect something like this to happen in Oxford or the surrounding areas." During questioning, Morgan remembered seeing Ellie last around 1:15 p.m. on July 19 when she turned in her test. "I think that evening everything started to go downhill," Morgan said. She called Ellie a sweet, quiet girl and said she truly enjoyed having her in class. Upon hearing the news, Morgan contacted university officials to decide the best response. While the school had handled student suicides and accidents previously, this felt distinct. Morgan briefly mentioned Ellie's passing in class. Counselors were on hand to assist students, and anyone needing time could delay final exams. "My heart goes out to her parents and all her friends," she said. "Parents should never have to bury their children. That's not how it was supposed to happen." Ellie Kostial, in distress, had confided in friends that she was pregnant with Brandon Theesfeld's child. Her sisters knew of the pregnancy and that Ellie had told Brandon. A classmate said Brandon was furious, fearing the pregnancy would destroy his future, and upset that Ellie rejected abortion. "No, I don't believe in that," she had stated. Another friend shared that Ellie tried to miscarry through unhealthy methods, extended walks, heavy drinking, and banned substances. At 17 weeks, she grappled intensely with the circumstances. Though Brandon knew, he was involved with someone else. He pressed her to end it, but her morals prevented her, friends said. They called him terrible. Their bond was chaotic breakups followed by reconciliations, with Ellie always forgiving. Ellie Kostial's stunned friends and classmates grappled with the loss, posting emotional tributes online. "It's so hard for me because when I see her face, all I can think about is what she went through, what she felt, what she said," her friend Anna Pasco wrote. "It's incredibly painful." On July 23, a classmate tweeted that for years they had heard Ellie detail her ongoing issues with Brandon. In the now-deleted post, "I spent countless nights holding Ellie, wiping her tears as she cried over this monster for years. You deserve hell. A disgusting excuse for a person." Rex Ravida, a former dorm neighbor of Theesfeld, said in an interview that the 22-year-old was a daddy's boy who confessed to seeing Ellie intermittently simply out of boredom. "I truly believe he emotionally manipulated her into thinking he loved her just as much as she loved him, and he kept her hanging on until the very last moment," Ravida said. He described the suspect as arrogant and misogynistic. "I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He was definitely a daddy's boy. He constantly bragged about his father's money and how his dad could get him out of any trouble. That was his whole attitude all the time. Any vulgar or crude comment he made toward anyone in our dorm, he always got away with it. On Thursday evening in Ellie's hometown of St. Louis, a memorial honored her memory. At the Kostial family's wish, no public notices were made in Oxford. The only visible sign of mourning was black ribbons tied around the grand white columns of sorority houses, including Alpha Phi, where Ellie had lived, a silent tribute to the profound sorrow. The young student's death rattled the entire state. Michael Cunningham, an Oxford local, noted the case captivated everyone on campus. "This is the biggest news in town in a long time since football season," Cunningham said. "It's just heartbreaking." He hoped the probe would soon provide answers, granting the Kostial family some solace. Though officials withheld many specifics to safeguard the case, certain media outlets pursued their own reporting. They noted surveillance captured Ellie early Saturday morning near the discovery site with a man thought to be Theesfeld at a 24-hour store in Harmontown. Arafat Najib, the store's owner for about a decade, said police arrived Sunday to examine footage. Najib stated officers gave no details but took evidence. The store's recordings auto-delete every 72 hours, preventing recovery of earlier files. "We've never had any trouble or violent incidents here," Najib remarked. "This is a small town, quiet, where everyone knows each other. This situation is just pure madness." For an extended period, the Lafayette County Sheriff's Office avoided updates or media comments. Lafayette County Coroner Rocky Kennedy explained the need for discretion. "This isn't a story everyone will hear until it goes to court." He stressed that withheld information aided in prosecuting, convicting, and holding the offender accountable. Kennedy recognized the media pressure but affirmed it changed nothing. "Every case I handle matters. I strive to give the same care to every family who has lost a loved one." Investigator Michelle Miller questioned whether red flags in the relationship went unnoticed and if Ellie's death could have been averted. Brandon Theesfeld was charged with the crime. He faced the death penalty amid claims of Ellie Kostial's murder and alleged abduction. Despite COVID-19 delays, justice arrived. In August 2021, he pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and received life imprisonment. Judge Kelly Luther imposed the life term, with parole eligibility at age 65. He resides at the Mississippi State Penitentiary in Sunflower County, Mississippi. At the trial's conclusion, Brandon Theesfeld displayed clear emotion and acknowledged his part in Ellie Kostial's death. He took responsibility for Alexandria Kostial's death and appeared deeply moved while apologizing to her family and his own. One pivotal forensic revelation: Alexandria Kostial had never actually been pregnant. This raises questions about why a promising young student with a bright future would fabricate a pregnancy and convince her friends of it for 3 months. It seems she truly believed it and hoped the revelation would win Brandon's heart and tie him to her. Sadly, no such change happened. Ellie's parents and friends still mourn the loss of their cherished Ellie.